You ready, Dan?
Be a cushion.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Milford Board of Selectmen, regularly scheduled for July 13th, 2015. The first item that we have is the signing of a warrant. Is there a motion?
I'll move. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. We have meeting minutes, June 29th, 2015.
Move.
Motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That too is unanimous. Invitation to speak. Phyllis?
I'm here for the obvious reason of my dismissal from the Geriatric Authority that took place a couple of weeks ago. I served on the Geriatric Authority for 11 years. I have a statement I'd like to make. It'll take 11 minutes, so I'm basically asking your indulgence, 1 minute for every year of my service.
Take as much time as you like, Phyllis. You've
Thank you.
certainly earned it.
That's dangerous to say to me.
That's all right.
I've been active in local politics since my junior high school years. I have great respect for all public officials because I know firsthand the difficult decisions you have to make. What I expect as a voter is that those decisions do not dishonor the public trust in you. A month ago, 43 members on 14 boards were up for reappointment. 42 of those members were reappointed, one was not. I accept that decision, no argument there. No one owns the position. But I need a reason, and I didn't get one. Why the Geriatric Authority of 14 committees? Why this member of 43 volunteer members? So I spent a month, this past month, analyzing all possible logical reasons for my dismissal. And I'd like to share my conclusions with you. A month ago, when it came time for reappointments to the Geriatric Authority, Mr. Buckley stated, "I'd like to hold off for purposes of later discussion." He went on to comment about rotating members, bringing new people in from the talent bank. Again, I cannot argue with that one bit. But the discussion that he promised was never held. Instead, Mr. Buckley immediately moved to make motions. There were 3 altogether. And they were instantaneously seconded by Mr. Kincaid. And neither the mover nor the seconder had any apparent need to discuss these motions. So let me repeat. 3 motions, rapid succession, instantaneously seconded, no discussion whatsoever. Not one word by either Mr. Buckley nor Mr. Kincaid as to the reason for this, their decision, which again, perfectly legitimate, but certainly unusual. The chairman's lone support of my candidacy is very much appreciated and will not be forgotten. So I asked myself, of 14 boards, why the Geriatric Authority? Of all boards, they're at its most vulnerable right now. We all know that they're opening a memory care unit. This is something absolutely new for the Geriatric Authority. It's going to involve new training, new staffing, a real departure from the past. So if anything, they needed all of the experienced members that they had. And again, why this particular volunteer? Myself. So again, I looked at all the logical and non-political reasons. Age. It's obvious. Take one look at me. I'm not a teenager. However, there are 2 people on the Geriatric Authority that are older than I, and they are both very active and very committed and very valued. And this town has a history of recognizing the value of older volunteers and committee members. Look no further than the likes of Sina Heller, Emilio Paghetti, and our own Joe D'Antonio, currently serving on the Geriatric Authority. Length of service, have I been on there too long? That doesn't really fly for the simple reason that there are 4 members of the 7 that have served longer than I have. Commitment, again, I have near perfect attendance. As the clerk to the Geriatric Authority, I had additional duties. History, my adult life has been involved in politics in a support capacity. For 31 years, I served the school committee and its additional related building committees. We didn't have separate secretaries. It was Dave Davern and me at all of these meetings. 11 years serving the Selectmen, and every time there was a volunteer position that had to be filled according to new laws from the state, guess who filled it? The town administrator. Post-retirement, I was immediately recruited for the Personnel Board, and I served on that board for a number of years, 2 terms as its chairman. I also at different times served as the Capital Improvement Committee, the Public Safety Building Committee that expanded the police department, the Library Renovation Committee, and served for many years as a senior center volunteer. The thing that troubled me is the fact that there was no discussion. And the seconds, as I say, were instantaneous. Now, that often happens on routine items, housekeeping items. But I had to ask myself, why was there no discussion? Why was there no concern or surprise by the selectmen that seconded the motions? Two possibilities came to mind, one of which is that perhaps Mr. Kincaid felt that my dismissal wasn't important enough to waste time, the board's time, to discuss. Again, no problem there, that's his prerogative. The other that concerns me is it was so seamless that I have to wonder, were there previous discussions between the 2 gentlemen about this particular matter? And if there were, of course, that, I believe, would be a violation of the open meeting law, and that does trouble me, because both gentlemen would well know that that was a violation. I suppose town council can rule on that for you. I wondered, the logical thing that I would have done, looking at our recent town report, you see the attendance records of town meeting members. When you vote for a town meeting member, you like to know that they're taking that seriously. And I wondered why, of the 14 boards, why the gentleman did not look at the attendance records of those board members, and maybe look at the ones whose attendance might have been, let's say, sporadic. They may have had, it may have been a case of burnout, or they may have other commitments now that intrude on their time. So that would be a logical place, as far as I'm concerned, to look. We still have a few remaining choices. Random selection, lottery, whatever, but that would have all had been done, it would have had to have been done in open session, and I didn't see any evidence that it ever was done. Personal or political reasons. In the days after the last meeting, your last meeting, I received dozens of contacts, personal contacts, emails, handwritten notes, you name it, and I heard from people, telephone calls. Many or most expressed sadness, sorrow, shock, surprise. A very vocal few didn't hesitate to register their outrage, their absolute outrage, and basically chastised me, saying, are you that dumb that you don't, or that naive that you don't realize why you're the one out of 43 members were the one that was shown the door? They gave me 2 options, 2 choices, one of which involves another family or families, and I'm not going down that road. The other was a suggestion that possibly the fact that in 2 previous elections to this Board of Selectmen, I publicly supported the opposing candidates. I have a problem with that, because I can't imagine that anyone, any serious public official would jeopardize their reputation by being that, do you want to use the word vindictive? So I'm just canceling that one. So what am I left with? I guess incompetence. Perhaps the two gentlemen felt that I was no longer competent or ever competent to fill that capacity. Mr. Buckley, in his initial statements, talked about new people from the talent bank. I have to believe that if that's sincere, that we're talking about an ongoing process. So next year, you'll be doing the same thing. The year after that, you'll be doing the same thing. I looked at the most recent town report. This Board of Selectmen, actually appoints to 17 different boards. In those 17 different boards, you have over 138 members. Now, if this is going to be an ongoing process, it's going to have to be escalated a little bit, or it's not going to happen in any of our lifetimes, or perhaps our grandchildren's lifetimes as well. So I want you to know that I'm not going away. I love serving the town. I really do. I'm very proud of this town. My family came, and my husband's family came here as immigrants and made a life for themselves, a life that they could be proud of. And I'm proud to be their daughter, their granddaughter, their great-granddaughter. I think on that basis, I very definitely will be looking for another placement for me, whether there's a vacancy, whether there is a place that you feel that I might be a good fit. So I think you need to know a little bit more about me than you will see on a one-page talent bank application. Briefly, I'm leaving my resume in the town administrator's office, so that hopefully you'll indulge me and take a look at it. Briefly, I have a Bachelor of Science from Northeastern University. I'm proud to say it comes with a summa cum laude designation. That tells you I at least paid attention in class. I have a Master of Science from Bentley. I have a Master of Public Administration, a Master in a Master of Arts, in Public Administration from Framingham State, a college that my mother graduated from in 1929. I also, when I retired, I immediately became involved in the gerontology program at UMass Boston and earned 2 certificates that don't mean anything to the average person, but are important to people that are involved in gerontology studies, the Manning Certificate and the Advanced Manning Certificate. When I studied public policy, applied research, direct services to older Americans, both current elder population and, more significantly, the older population that you are going to be dealing with in the future, because that is the fastest growing segment of the population. Based on my studies there, I was recruited to operate an elder abuse detection and prevention program that involved mainly workshops and seminars for people in the health professions and in public safety, police and fire. Very interesting. Elder population. The abused victim is just as likely to be a male. The abuser is just as likely to be the caretaker. So step 1, you remove the caretaker from the home. That takes care of the physical part of it. Now, the abused victim still has to get to the hospital for the MRI, the doctor for the different appointments. Who's around? Family is probably like my family. I have 2 sons that live on the other side of the country. We're very mobile. We don't have the family next door or the multi-generational families that we grew up with. So you look around, there's nobody there. Who you're gonna call? You're gonna call local government, and that's going to land on the selectmen's desks. So that's all I have to say. I'm not expecting any answers, nor do I intend to get involved in a discussion from this point on. The way I look at it, if there was no need to discuss this issue last month, when it may have made a difference, at least where I'm concerned, then there's no point in discussing it now. The deed has been done, the case is closed, and nothing is going to change. So at this point, gentlemen, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Phyllis. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Invitation to speak, any item not on the agenda? Okay, let's move on to the next appointment. It's Powerless Inc., DBA The Tradesman, for a one-day license. I know Rob DeDominic is here with his entourage. And why don't you come up, Tom, Mark, I need you. And this is an application for a one-day license. I don't know if this hearing's gonna make Barstool, but we'll try.
Take a shot at it.
This is actually, I think, the first application that we have under the new form. So with that, let me turn it over to Rob and tell us a little bit about what you have.
Got pretty much the same ideas last year. You know, about 9 bands. Gonna go from roughly 2 to 11, maybe 2 to midnight. The bands all donate their time and their money for charity. This year is the Milford Food Pantry. We're also gonna have a dunk tank, and that's gonna go towards Milford Special Olympics. Hopefully Mr. Kincaid will be attending.
I'm sure he will.
I'm sure we'll get 4 food trucks. Just a general good time.
Okay, good. And, well, let me, I know you've worked with both the fire and the police, so let me hear from the chiefs as to what they have. Who'd like to start?
Yours is the quick
Start.
stuff.
Yeah, it's
You're
not
close.
long. I met with Rob, he approached me about the event that's gonna happen at the Tradesman, and I spoke to him about maintaining access in the event of an emergency, whether it be medical, fire, what have you, that we need to have access to all parts of the building. And he assured me that that would happen, that the tents would not be staked down, that they are smaller in nature, that they could be moved by people. So I felt comfortable with that. Another concern that we have is overcrowding a building, and I stress the importance of making sure that we never overcrowd this building. It's not a sprinklered building. It has a limit of 95 people inside and 46 people for the deck. He assured me that it would not be overcrowded. I pointed out that he can use his crowd managers, certified staff, to police that and to make sure that the building doesn't get overcrowded. And then a small housekeeping part of this would be making sure for proper permitting and the propane for the food trucks, because they're going to probably have more than what they usually carry on board. So to make sure they have the proper permitting. He assured me all those things could be met, and gave me a hand drawing, basically, of what the site would look like. And I felt comfortable with that. But it's the overcrowding part. I just wanted to make sure that we stay at safe levels for the inside. Even though it's an outside event, the interior is open. So I just wanted to make sure that he was aware that we're aware.
Okay. Tom?
Last year, there were concerns expressed. After that, Rob actually reached out to me. I met with him, went over everything after we had met, the board and myself, the town administrator, as we worked our way through the application process of what we would like to see, so we have more information and making decisions. So, and he, at the time of the event, as I expressed to the board back then, he showed a concern when I approached him and said, look, I have an issue, I'm getting noise complaints. And as I indicated in my report, at least what was reported to us, the noise complaints were primarily after the hour of 11 PM, but there were some beforehand, and we had heard about it. So, I mean, I went there, I drove a block down the road, Field Pond, I drove down to the Rod and Gun Club, I went up the other end, just to listen, to see what was I hearing, and could you hear music? You could hear music in my driveway. Could you hear the words? Not necessarily. So it was carrying, and I think much of that is, as I said to the board in my report, I can recall the year prior, I believe it was, that Lou Salazzi had sent down to me that the permit had been issued then. I wasn't involved, and we didn't have any complaints. And I said to Rob, what happened? And some of it was when he put the deck on, is my understanding, Rob, that he had to relocate the band. And in relocating the band, he put them at a higher elevation. So the sound actually carried over the building, the top of the building, headed towards the neighborhoods of Milford, where the year prior, they were down where the now deck is, and they were headed towards the natural berm and Harry O's lot, Upton, but much of it was buffered. So in having those discussions, I believe he listened, and I said, you have to redesign this. You have to find more parking. We have to take a look at Route 140 because it was a bottleneck in different points. And some of it is the guardrail along his side of the roadway from his premises, coming up almost to your next major right turn. So just before the auto place. We run into it with the folks that have the cat, charity. When they have their fundraisers, we get similar bottlenecks. The difference is that's during the day. So people can work their way through, and you worry about pedestrians. So I raised that with him when he called me recently and said, hey, can we sit down and just go over this? I want to give you some ideas. I have to tell you, I think he got it. He has worked out a relationship with, and I talked to Benny Pinto, to use up where Wanacora is, and the supermarket there, it's, small strip mall, where he will park people that are involved, so his employees, the band, and he will drive them to the premises by van. So I don't have people walking on Route 140 in and out of potential vehicles that might be parked there. Secondarily, he's worked with Plains Auto, and they're reconfiguring their lot. So all the front portion, much of a back portion, side portion, he's going to utilize. They're going to compact their assets. My understanding, I've not talked to Plains Auto, I've not talked to Harry O, but my understanding is Harry O is on board again to work with him. Along Route 140, and I said to Rob, I'll make that determination. And I think on that side of the roadway, meaning his side of the roadway, from his premises, where the guardrail is flush, you can't come off far enough. So you're literally taking up the lane. We'll cone that and then use our sandwich boards for no parking, just in the public safety interest. And we'll do it in such a way that if anybody does walk down 140, they're on that side of the cones, kind of creating a pathway to make sure people that, if they do walk from vehicles on that side of the road, they're safe. On the other side of the road, there is a good portion of it, you can get off the roadway. And I'm not talking significant numbers of vehicles, but some. So we're looking at it, we're gonna go out, we're gonna figure out where we wanna put no parking that's in the public safety interest, not where the vendor wants it or what's, whether or not he can put another 50 cars, because, if I went with Rob would say, hey, I could squeeze 3 in there. No, you're not. We're going to do it. And we'll make those decisions. As far as the crowd goes, Rob initially had hired one detail. Keep in mind, none of this was known to me. Last year prior, I got notice. I knew there was something going on. Last year it was, something's going on with the tradesman. Yeah, okay, I'll go down there. He did try hire a detail. I know that is a fact. And he tried, for us, we filmed 2 days before, people's vacations, this, that. et cetera. So we've looked at this one, kind of like we'd look at the Portuguese picnic, we're going to fill it. So it's going to be filled. And initially, Rob had last year one out front with lights on to protect pedestrians crossing. And I've said to him, no, you need, it was his staff handled inside, you need one out front. He had one inside. I said, you're not putting one cop with 400 people. I don't operate that way. So without hesitation, he agreed, I'll cover it. So it's gonna be 2 police officers inside. There was absolute, no question about an easy means of egress, ingress, when I was there and when I left. Started to rain, people actually stayed, and the band kept playing, which my electricity goes out, but I guess theirs doesn't. So it's just puzzling, but he's agreed to 2 police officers in, 1 out. He does have his own staff. I did talk to him, well, Mark had said to you, the deputy fire chief, that, you know, the issue of crowd control inside the facility as well. He does have bathroom facilities outside, so people that are out, there's portable, you know, there's a trailer. So it's not just like porta potties, it's a trailer, it's a large facility. And then inside, you know, I told him, you have to do counts. You have to know what you have on hand, so you don't go afoul, you know, the requirements of the fire department as it relates to occupancy and people's safety. So we discussed a number of things. Crowd control, as I just mentioned to you. ID verification, he has had custom stamps. As you know, we use the bracelets, you know, for a large event like the Portuguese picnic. He actually went and had stamps made. So you check the ID, you stamp the hand. Nobody's running out tonight to have one of those stamps made. They're custom made. He owns it. It's not out there what it looks like, and you can't transfer it from one person to the other. And that's the key for us. You know, even the bracelets, if you tear it away, we know you tore it away. You can see it. You know, that tamper, you know, proof material. So he has taken a good look at that, and he's worked that out. We touched on the issues of parking, ingress, egress, the music and noise complaints. As I indicated to the board, most of the complaints that we received were after the 11 p.m. hour. And I know that he wanted to, in his application, have them play from, well, the music, my understanding in reading the app, was 2 p.m. to 12 a.m., the event 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. I'm not worried about the 12 p.m. side of it, the noon side of it. I am concerned about the later hour. And my thing is, you know we had those complaints at that hour. Why put ourselves kind of in that conflict automatically? So I would recommend to the board that, you know, music has to cease at 11 p.m. And that's pretty consistent with what we do at other establishments. You know, you have a 2 o'clock license, you can serve till 2, you have till 2:30 to have people off the premises. Portuguese Club, you know, we allow them to play the music up to a half hour before the event ends. It just so happened that all but one of his complaints were after the 11 p.m. hour. So I would recommend to the board that if you're inclined to do so, that you issue the entertainment license to cease at 11 p.m. And his event can end at 12. That gives, he can serve up to the 12. He has a 1 o'clock license. And then from there, he has a half hour outside to clear people from the premises and to maintain whatever the capacity is inside until his closing hour, as a matter of law. And those were the issues that jumped out at me. I did send to the board, I apologize, voluminous information, but there was a lot to this from last year. But my understanding is it's not the same bands. It is the same DJ. He's going to confine the DJ from his application to the first hour and last hour. He may alter that last hour if you follow my recommendation, and he might collapse it, trying to put the bands in there. And then aside from that is the same stipulations that we do at the Portuguese Club. If we find that the music is too loud, which he's assented to, we simply say to him, you know, Rob, you have to turn it down. And as he did last year, I mean, he'll say it. I called him from my driveway, I texted him, he was right back to me. I said, you have to turn it down. And then it wasn't 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, I called him, I said, you have to shut it down, and he did. He said, 2 more songs and I'm okay, 2 more songs, you're okay. And during those 2 songs, 2 of the 5 complaints came in, so.
So I did to myself.
Probably, and which isn't unusual in your case. Anyway, I just think that, you know, we've taken a good hard look at this. I think that he's done on his side of it to be at least open with us, and I know that I asked him to provide you, and I know Mark saw diagrams, I saw a diagram, at least of the premises. He asked me if it necessitated a diagram of Harry O's parking lot, Plains Auto, Route 140, Benny's, and I said, in my humble opinion, I didn't think so. I think we all understand the lots that we're talking about. So rather than sit and try to etch and sketch, I just thought it was an effort in futility, because we all understand the properties we're talking about. So if that's not there, I know it was raised with me, that was some of his discussion. My thing was the place where people would be on their feet, so that Mark and I could take a look at, where are you placing tents, where are you placing propane? Because for Mark's business, he knows better than me, distances from the building where propane has to be. I've only learned, kind of from hanging around with him, that there are distances, I don't know them precisely. So those were the things I was looking at, and then I was looking at, if I had to get in there to bring someone out, how do we do it safely? And I mean, if there was an emergency, medical, otherwise, you know, as at the fireworks, we had, you know, the gentleman that had the heart attack. How do you get in there and bring someone out for their own well-being? So that's what we're looking at, and that's why we focused on that site. So I'm just hopeful that if you feel that something was incomplete, that you appreciate where we were coming from in working with him. And literally, he's worked with us over the past year to try to remedy the concerns of the board.
Okay, let me turn it over to the board. Bill?
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Chief. I don't need, drawings of parking lots where auxiliary vehicles are gonna be parked, but the drawing of the venue, if you two have looked at it. I know, Mark, you mentioned that you feel comfortable with the plan in front of you. I'd ask the Chief, you feel comfortable with the plan that's in front of us, and that we can keep folks safe and people can cross 140 safely? And
Absolutely. I mean, our intent is, Bill, we're going to use the assets that we have to also protect our people, the officer that's there. So if we have to put a signboard up the road to tell people there's an officer ahead and there are people crossing the road, we're going to do that. So we have those illuminated signboards, as you know. And in working with the fire department, we also have, our light structures. So we can light up in front of that area pretty well, to include up 140 to some degree. So our intent is to do that. It's not we're lending something to a business so that, they accomplish what they're looking to accomplish. We're looking to accomplish public safety. So we're happy to do that, as we do in other venues that, we have a lot of people. When we do voting, we put those same, assets out there to make sure that everybody's safe. So the Portuguese picnic. So we're willing to do that, and we're willing to work with Rob as it relates to his area, but the public area, so Route 140, that's our responsibility. So we're going to take care of that, and we're going to make it as safe as we possibly can. And we're going to restrict parking. We'll ensure that pedestrians can move in a safe fashion. So I think the number of officers, based on the number of people that he's expecting and the number of people that I saw, I'm not uncomfortable. And if I thought there should be more, well, I thought there should be more, and I told them I wanted another one. So if I thought there should be more than what we're asking for, I wouldn't hesitate, not for a moment.
from my perspective, Chief, if the two public safety officials sitting in front of me are comfortable with the plan, having an understanding of the venue from past experience, and you've hit all the topics in terms of noise, access, safety, then I don't have any further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Will?
Yes, thank you. No, I can echo what Bill mentioned about, obviously, you two chiefs being here and letting us know all the points of concern. I, for one, am very grateful that you folks have both been kind of comparing this to the Portuguese Club and the Portuguese picnic, because that's what I was thinking of when I was reading through your voluminous paperwork on the train and studying it and going through that. Now, when I came, I've never been to the event, but when I came home last year and pulled into my driveway when we came home from the Cape, we could hear music. No lyrics. However, I also hear the Portuguese picnic on Saturday nights and Sunday. And I'm the furthest away, at least out of the people, I think, sitting around this table. So as far as I'm concerned, it's once a year. Obviously, you're doing everything you can to address the complaints. Hopefully, if I'm in town, I can make it. And you obviously hit a soft spot with the Special Olympics for me, so if I can make the dunk tank, I will.
Effective pay for your suggestion. Okay. So you can blame him.
So I appreciate that, and good luck, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Okay. Just so we're clear about last year, and I know there was a lot of discussion about it, and everybody had a lot of fun with everything. And for me personally, you know, it wasn't even so much the level of the loudness of the music. I know we had people coming in before us and saying, oh, it's only rock and roll, why do you... Absolutely, that's no problem. And I hear music from the Portuguese Club, and if I heard music from this place, it really wouldn't bother me. It's one night, it's a special event, that's okay. I think the thing that was different about the event last year was the level of complaints that we got about obscenities. And they could hear obscenities. It wasn't so much loud music, it was loud obscenities that was going out over the sound system and going into people's homes. And, you know, we got one, and this was the one really, you know, I got this email from this woman who, you know, lived on Dartmouth Drive, and she said, the first was the vulgar nature of some of the music and the profanity that was being used during songs. We have an 8-year-old daughter, and the idea that she may hear some of those words was horrifying. I feel in a town like this, local bars should have their bands indoors. If they have a special occasion where they request a permit to play outside, it needs to end at a time that respects the residents, and they certainly shouldn't be promoting or permitting vulgar profanity. So that was really the issue that I had, that I wanted to convey. And I spoke to your...
You talked to Ray, right?
I talked to Ray Ozier at WMRC.
Told everybody just,
Yeah, and I think, I don't know what Ray was doing, he might have had too many Jell-O shots or something, but, you know, he's gonna have to chill, you know? And that's the thing that, to me, is unacceptable. Other people might think that's okay, I really don't. I don't have an issue with the loud music, that's fine. That's what a community's all about. But when someone gets on the mic and starts dropping F-bombs, I don't think that's acceptable.
fair enough.
You know, and just to show how it reflects on your department, the lady also said, once I realized where the noise was coming from, I personally did not call, because my father went there and he said the Milford police was present. Honestly, that raises even more concerns. So that's the way it gets reflected
There
throughout
was an
the
officer,
community.
but there was an officer present, Brian. He couldn't hire detail. I put an officer there.
No, I know what
I'm
happened,
just
Tom.
saying, with lights on.
I know what
so-
happened. There was not a detail there. Even though he put his application in for August 12th, there still wasn't a detail. And then you and the deputy chief had to go down without paid detail to start moving the sound out. So that's what happened last
Right,
year.
and then I assigned an officer to stay there,
Then that's fine.
so that there's no
That's fine.
misunderstanding. Yes, if the gentleman went there, he saw a police officer there with the lights on, because I had a concern about people crossing the roadway, et cetera. So there was an officer there. but it was
I
an
understand
on-duty
that, but the
officer, just so-
point is that even with a police officer there, that activity was going on. That's the feedback that we get from the residents.
That's-
And to me, you know, I take that seriously. You know what I mean?
And I do
So-
too,
So
and
I
that's
take
fair.
that seriously.
That's fair, but I,
And that was the genesis for last year. So, you know, now let's fast forward to this year. You know, you've done a heck of a lot more work. You've done a great job in terms of dealing with the fire department and the police department. Mark, what's the number for the outside limit of people?
I don't
Well,
have
you got
numbers.
you got a limit on the deck, you got a limit on the inside. What do you have a limit for the outside?
I don't have a limit for the outside.
Okay.
It's set by the building official, and so.
Okay, and what's that
John
number?
Harrison. I don't have one. I
Okay.
don't have, it's.
All right.
it's
As I
outside.
looked at this plan here, you know, it talks about the detail officer being contracted from 5 PM to 1 AM, mostly there to slow down traffic and assist people crossing the street safely, and that's fine. Why is the detail officer starting so late when the event starts at 2?
It's not that busy.
This is Route 140 we're talking about, you know what I mean? This is not, you know, Congress Street. I mean, the two things that really bothered me last year was the obscenities, number one, that could go out throughout the town. But number two, the pedestrian traffic off of Route 140. That's the thing that I think is unusual and dangerous. So, you know, when I read this through, and, you know, I saw it starts at 2 PM, that's fine, but we're not gonna have that detail officer there till 5 PM, Tom? What's the rationale?
I honestly didn't think he had the crowd that early. And I don't have historical information to show differently.
Were you there last year from 2 to 5?
No. I was there at
Okay.
10:30 at night.
So how do we
When I
know
was
he
getting the
doesn't have the
complaints.
crowd from 2 to 5?
I don't know that.
Okay.
And that's why
So do we think that that's maybe a soft spot in the safety plan?
something that the boards, you can actually take a look at, yes.
I did take a look at it. And then the other thing, you know, my colleagues, they might not want to see a plan or anything. I would like to see a plan, what Route 140 looks like, who's going to be walking where the cars are going to be. That, to me, is the safety problem that I see. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion to support the plan that was brought forward between the police chief and the fire chief and the owner of the establishment. You know, we received 5 calls last year. I'm not going to minimize any one of them, but I just want to, you know, I think, put it in perspective that, you know, there is a venue within our borders that supports local music and local talent. I think some of that is inherently a good thing. I think there are lessons learned from previous applications and previous experiences, whereas the chief comes before us each year with new lessons learned from each of the previous Portuguese picnics, which is an important, in my opinion, important cultural event. I'd be happy to support this motion, to support the license request as presented.
I'll second that as well. And again, for discussion, again, the chiefs are here, letting us know that they're comfortable. Rob, obviously, I expect you to be responsible as you usually are and do the right thing. As well as I take a different little look at it in the sense that sooner or later, people also need to be responsible for themselves. So I think between the police officers being out there, the roads being coned, and people, again, adults, need to be responsible for themselves, crossing the street, walking on pedestrian ways, and everywhere else. I certainly hope everyone's safe, but I do second the motion.
And I'm sorry, that motion was specifically to take the recommendations from the chief, and the chief had made a recommendation different than the application, so I'd like to clarify that,
So
Mr.
let's spell
Chairman.
out exactly what your motion is then. What are you moving for?
It's the one-day license, outside parking and deck for Labor Day Festival. Specifically, it mentioned 9 bands. The chief had recommended modifying that request to go from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. And he had requested that go to 11, so I'm going to modify that slightly to say 11 o'clock at night.
So 12 PM to 11.
I'm sorry.
Yep, 12 noon to 11 PM.
12 noon to 11 p.m.
For entertainment.
For entertainment.
Right.
And that we control the volume.
That's
And
the
are both-
agreement.
And are both of you okay with the detail officer coming on at 5 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock?
I am, yes.
Yeah, I mean, if if that's what they're all comfortable with, then I guess I am too.
Okay. I don't know that my
I just don't have
colleagues,
information of what occurred between 12 and 5. I only dealt with later.
if you don't have that information, Tom, it's tough to make that recommendation. It really is.
I
I
can't
mean, if
make,
you're gonna make that recommendation, you
I-
should
I'm
have
not-
the information.
I never made that recommendation. That recommendation's in the application. I simply said he was hiring the detail officer, and I said that he was gonna hire one additional that I wanted inside. I don't have a problem with that during late hours. If the board feels that you want a detail officer there earlier, as we do at the picnic, I don't have a problem with that. I just don't know what took place there earlier in the day. I
Well, apparently, the board doesn't,
can't make a
because
judgment based on,
both of my colleagues are very comfortable with the 5 PM detail officer, even though the event begins at 2. So it's, it really doesn't matter what I think, but I don't know that my colleagues understand dram shop liability as well as I do, and we could be setting ourselves up to a situation. I'm very, very concerned, very worried about people walking back and forth from Route 140. But that being said,
You just want me to get the detail one.
I was just gonna ask, is that a financial burden for you, or can we do this? And then,
Excuse me, there's a motion on the table, okay? There's a motion on the table that's been seconded. Now, if you want to indicate that you want to change what's been presented, then is that what you want to do?
That makes that simpler, fine.
So what exactly are you proposing?
I'll put the detail from, 1 o'clock, 1 to 1.
1 to 1. Is that okay with you?
That's fine with me.
Okay, do you want to amend your motion?
I'm happy to amend my motion. I'll be happy to make a motion that goes from, 12 o'clock noon to 11 o'clock with music, where the chief is controlling the volume, the police department and public safety are controlling the volume. And based on the recommendation I have from the public safety officials, I'm comfortable making that motion. And with the addition of the detail officers beginning at 1 o'clock when the event starts, all the more safe and all the less concerns, it would be my guess.
seconded.
Okay, is there any more discussion on that? Are you going to be coming forth with a plan or anything to show us exactly what's going to happen on 140, what's
I'd be
not going to
happy to
happen on
send that up to
140?
the board.
Okay, all right. When do you think we would have that?
We'll have it done this week.
Okay. I would like to maybe hold off on this until we get a look at the plan, so we have the complete picture. I don't know if that's with the board's willingness. Our next meeting is when, Rick? Where are we at?
27th of July,
27th of July?
2 weeks.
I'm comfortable keeping my second unless, the motion's rescinded. I think
I'm
this
trying to
is,
understand the request. Is the request that we withdraw the motion now?
Withdraw it until the next meeting, until we can get the picture of the plan to show exactly how Route 140 is going to look in terms of vehicular parking and pedestrian access.
Here's my thinking on it, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure that, as a quality engineer from Bose, I have, overriding, knowledge or expertise as it relates to egress of venues or traffic. Parking, I'm comfortable with the chief presenting that plan after the fact, and that the fact that it'd be thoughtful and well laid out, I'd like to maintain my motion.
It's not a lot different from what you've requested when we get these requests for road races and bike races and everything. You've always asked for that.
I've asked for the chief to sign off on it. but
You've
the
asked
fact
for
of the matter
plans.
is- The fact of the matter is, I've never received the entire route. I've never received where signboards go, and I've not received where the cones go. There's a
We
great
have.
deal.
We have.
There's a great deal that I've not received in those, but for me, it's a matter of faith in the public safety officials and the direction they're taking, knowing that this board is serious about public safety as they are. But I don't know that I add particular expertise or value to that plan or discussion. I want to know that the chief signed off on it. I want to know that the chief has approved it. And I have that in front of me tonight, so I'm comfortable moving forward.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? 2 to 1. Me in opposition. Thank you. Good luck. Next item that we have is the town administrator's report. Rick?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, as you know, as you walked in to Town Hall tonight, you can see that Capeway Roofing has begun the work on the project for the town hall gutters and snow guards. The work includes, as you know, the installation of lead copper gutters, downspouts, roof edge aprons, valleys, reflashing around the tower base, snow guards, and a snow melt system over the entrances at the town hall. We hope to complete the project by the middle to the end of August. I would also like to give a board an update on the medical marijuana facility. I have been informed by Michael Dundas, the Chief Executive Officer of Milford Medicinals, Inc., that they will be initiating the construction of their dispensary and cultivation facility at 13 Commercial Way. They will be submitting an application to the building department to begin demolition of existing partitions in the building, and once the permit is issued, they will in fact begin the demolition. Construction time, I'm told, for the facility is expected to be 4 to 6 months. Once final approval from the state is secured, the first cultivation cycle will take an additional 4 months. Therefore, they expect to open the doors for patients during the first quarter of 2016. Just an update on the second floor renovations at the senior center. I happened to visit there last week. The room renovations are progressing very well. As you know, when the room is completed, it will be used as an exercise room. Update on the state budget. As you might also know, the House and Senate budget negotiators have reached an agreement on a $38.14 billion state budget for fiscal 16. The governor has 10 days to review, approve, or veto hundreds of the line item appropriations and outside sections. There is a $34 million increase in unrestricted general government aid to be proposed, which will result in an increase of 3.6% for Milford. The budget also maintains funding for kindergarten development grants, as well as provides for $111.2 million increase in Chapter 70. Two earmarks included in the budget for Milford are $50,000 for the Milford Youth Center and also $50,000 for improvements to Pheno Field. I wish, on behalf of the board, to thank Senator Fatman and Representative Fernandez for their efforts in including these items in the state budget. Weed control treatment on town. I've been informed by Highway Surveyor Scott Crisafulli that he'll be treating the weed growth along Main Street and including the area near Sacred Heart Church. Also, I've also spoken with Tree Warden Chuck Renault, and he will be treating the weed growth in the lot across from the Memorial School. I just want to also now give the board an update on the technology for the town. I did meet with Superintendent Tremblay to discuss how we would handle IT, at least on the short-term basis. Short-term, as you know, World Band is managing IT for both the town and the school. He will World Band will be supervised by Superintendent Tremblay for school IT and also me for the town IT. There will be some common issues that we both will have to be involved in that I'll talk about in a second. For example, budget sense. The direction of our IT technicians also will be through World Band. We will also continue to use our ticket system. In speaking with Superintendent Tremblay, he informed me that he has developed a school IT educational plan. He needs the development of infrastructure and backbone plan to implement. He will be presenting a report to the school committee, which will include that. I'm assuming that plan will need to be vetted by them. I'm told they're meeting next week. Relative to the town, we have a number of items in fiscal year 16 budget that we need to do. The most important is new virtual servers. We will be doing that, and we're also starting the migrating of BudgetSense, Municity, Zobrio, and Patriot Properties. These are the programs used by, obviously, the treasurer, the accountant, building inspector, tax collector, and assessor. They will be migrated to new virtual servers. We'll basically be updating from outdated 2003 service support package forms to 2012 service support licenses. World Band will be overseeing this. We had a meeting about a week and a half ago. Included in that meeting were the finance director, tax collector, assessor, and myself to come up both with a process and a time frame to implement this. The other thing we'll be hopefully looking to do in fiscal 16 is to upgrade the Wi-Fi access here at Town Hall to improve that. And also, we will be doing some upgrades at both the senior center and the highway department. One important feature that we need to deal with is the integration with the schools for payroll, BudgetSense. It'll still be initiated here by town. Finance Director Zach Taylor will be supervising this aspect. Obviously, we will cooperate and inform when needed and as needed the school superintendent, the business manager, Kathy Perry, so that obviously this important function is not interrupted and is undergone seamlessly. Obviously, if there's any cooperative purchasing or licensing, we will need to meet and speak to act accordingly there. One other thing I'd like to point out is, I think you're aware that the governor has formed the Community Compact Cabinet, which allows the governor's office to work more closely with leaders from all municipalities. Basically, this is a type of agreement or contract entered into between the governor's office and the town. Our part, we would have to agree to implement at least one best practice from a variety of areas, which include education, energy and environment, financial management, housing and economic development, citizen safety, and information technology, and also transportation. I spoke initially with Michael Hamill, who's the director of the Office Technology for Massachusetts IT. Superintendent Tremblay and I then spoke with Mr. Hamill by way of a conference call. Out of that conference call, we'll be setting up a meeting with members of his team on July 20th to discuss how Milford might benefit from submitting a community compact application and implementing information technology as a best practice. I'm told potential benefits to us would include receiving IT technical assistance, as well as information and data regarding other towns they have assisted in the development of technology. I'm told there's also one other town at this time going through a very similar situation that we're going through, and there is a chance of additional technical assistance and aid if we were to cooperate and merge with that town to do this. Again, this is all very preliminary. I hope at the next meeting, or will at the next meeting, have more information on the community compact for you. Another advantage to the community compact is the town is eligible for grant funding to assist in technology development. You actually get extra points towards the grant application process if you are a member. But at this time, as I was directed, Superintendent Tremblay and I did sit down, and we make sure we want to proceed so that both the town IT is handled by myself. I've asked Finance Director Taylor to become involved because of the unique programs that we have that are in common with the school, and that will be the next step in this process. One last thing, I did speak with the chairman, rather. There potentially some scheduling conflicts in August for selectmen meeting dates. I would ask the board to consider rescheduling to August 3rd and 17th. Obviously, though, I would need to know from you gentlemen if that's workable. If it's not, you don't need to know now. If you could let me know in the next couple of days. Obviously, you might have vacations or schedules that, and then we can proceed accordingly to try to meet everyone's schedule and have the meetings in August. So basically, that's where we are, and that's all I have at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And we can get the technology update at the next meeting, Rick?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. By that time, the school committee will have met, we will have met with Mass IT.
Okay.
And then hopefully at that point, we'll have much more information. Also have information from other towns on how they're handling their IT.
Okay. Bill?
Yeah, I scribbled as fast as I could with respect to the IT. I'd like to see a plan. I think it's incumbent upon this board to be very clear and specific about what they're expecting from that plan. I'll have a discussion with Rick, but at a very high level, I've had prior discussions with Rick. What I'd like to understand is what went wrong, and what are the learnings from having gone through 3 IT directors in 4 years, what that management structure ought to look like, and I'd like to see what the specific IT plan is. I'm hearing about virtual servers now. With all due respect, I've lost a great deal of faith in the way this has been managed in the past. I want to hear what's going to be different. I don't want to throw something else at the wall to see what sticks, but I want to make sure it's thoughtful and make sure that this board has had an opportunity to apply direction and apply some thought to that.
Absolutely. Anything else?
No.
Will?
No, I'm all set.
Please extend our thanks to Representative Fernandez, who I know initiated both of those money bills, but also Senator Fatman for getting the money for the youth center. It'll be definitely needed with the level of complications we're running into. And then also for Pheno Field, This appropriation with last year will give the park commissioners kind of a nice little cushion to really make some significant improvements in that facility. That's really a wonderful facility. Bill, old business?
No, I did want to make sure I understand something, and I didn't bring it up a second ago. I want to go back to it. Did I hear that the current plan has town employees working for a subcontractor? I just want to make sure I have this right. I
Our
want to,
technicians are being directed by World Band. So in other words, when a ticket comes in, rather than they making a termination, World Band is directing which tickets should be done by whom. Now, Jonathan Capice is pretty much restricted, or has been restricted to the school, so he's pretty much handling the school. One of our other technicians here is handling most of what is done here, and we have one that's kind of a floater, depending on what is needed.
yeah, let me be more clear. It would be my preference that we not have town employees being directed day-to-day or prioritized by outside contractors, unless there's some part of a bigger plan that I've seen that I can buy into and better understand the management structure. So I would ask you that we not have outside consultants directing our employees, but instead those employees be directed by internal resources for priority.
So who would direct those employees?
If it's,
Well, Rick, I was referring to Rick, actually, but who would direct those employees?
Well, what I would do is if it were a town IT issue, then I would say it would be me. If it were a school IT issue, then it would be Bob as the final decision maker. Yep. Obviously, if it's something that we need all hands on deck, then I think the both of us would very easily agree that if we had an issue that required all three of them, that's where they should go, whether it be school or town. And I don't see any problem that we wouldn't be able to agree on that. So I'd have no problem doing that. That's fine.
yeah, it's a unique model, Mr. Chairman, so
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that, that I'm comfortable. I haven't seen the plan yet, and so until we get an idea on the plan, until we understand it, I don't want to have our internal resources directed by subcontractors.
Okay. Will?
No, all set.
Under new business, we have correspondence from the Knights of Columbus looking for permission to participate in its annual Tootsie Roll Drive. They're looking to collect donations on the weekends of September 26th and 27th, as well as October 3rd and 4th. They'll be collecting funds at the intersections of Route 16 and Route 109. Is there a motion?
Chief Police has had an opportunity to look at it.
Yes, he has.
I saw that, so
sorry.
I'd be happy to make a motion. I just
Second.
want
I thought
to
you were-
highlight it, no.
Motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. We have a request from Chief Tui to dispose of some obsolete equipment currently in storage at the fire department. It's an inventory of items that are obsolete due to age, no longer compliant with current standards, or just plain worn out.
Moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That too is unanimous. We have a donation to accept from McDonald's of Milford, $500 to the town of Milford, and it's for the Milford Youth Center.
Be happy to do that very generous offer. Make a motion to
Motion
approve.
made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. We have a request for Chapter 44, Section 33B, transfer of funds, specifically three different items which total $5,162. Is there a
Moved.
motion?
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. New business? Bill, do you have any new
No
business?
new business, Mr. Chairman.
Will?
No, not tonight.
Rick, I just have one item of new business. I received a complaint from a resident today about property at 9 Chestnut Street and 26 Chestnut Street. There's materials out and about the yard, and if you could ask the task force or one of the inspectors to go and evaluate that for the resident, please.
Okay.
Under correspondence, we received the annual license establishment activity report from the chief. This one is for the mid-year, January 1 through June 30th, 2015. The last report we had gotten ended on March 31st, 2015, so essentially you're looking at 3 months. Is there any items that either of the board members would like to identify and discuss? Bill?
No, I'd say, of particular concern is the drug use. We've talked about it in the
Yes.
past.
Yeah.
There were employees identifying syringes in the trash with drugs in it, specifically at Dunkin' Donuts Main Street. We've talked to them in the past. We've had the chief go up and talk with them. And I'd be interested in hearing again from the chief about this report, and specifically that drug use, to see if there's anything more we can do, or anything more that the license holder can do beyond what's already been discussed and tried. It seems like we've got a 3-month window here. We're still seeing it, so I would ask him to go back and meet with them.
Yeah, it seems as though the business has been much more involved than it was in the past. It is so troubling to see such a level of activity involving drugs with license holders that don't sell alcohol. And I do know that the Dunkin' Donuts, the police chief did write that after meeting with the owners and managers of Dunkin' Donuts as agreed, officers of the Milford Police Department conducted 61 directed patrols in which the officers entered and checked the premises for suspicious or illegal activity. So it seems as though the increased communication between the business and the police department is working well, but it's just such a problem, really nationwide. And that was what jumped out at me at this list also. Will?
No, I'm on the same page. I know you two have talked about the needle issue multiple times, and I guess it's very concerning. I'm not sure what else to say, so.
Under correspondence, we received the monthly status report from our town engineer, Vonnie Reese. And those are all the items I have, gentlemen. Do you have anything else, Bill?
I have nothing of correspondence, Mr. Chairman.
Will?
No, thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. We have 2 items to discuss the town treasurer contract and also to discuss police department collective bargaining.
I'll move to make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made to go to executive session,
Second.
seconded by Will. Roll call vote. Bill?
Aye.
Aye.
Will? I too vote in the affirmative. Thank you. Good night. We will not be returning to open session.